guys, welcome to La Bella Vita. I am Dana, your host and founder of Boys Keep Out. Today I am here with actor Jeffrey Kaiser and artist. Thank you for being here today and taking time out of your schedule.
Oh, thanks for having me.
My pleasure. So today we're going to talk about mental illness and stigmas, and it's a very important topic and subject because I see it talked about all the time, and I know it's very personal to you. So I want to start off by you telling me a little bit about why it's so personal to you and a little bit about your story that I know you want to share.
Sure. So, I have bipolar disorder type 2, which is hypomanic. I was diagnosed and medicated back in 2010. I've been stable since then, and it's been actually awesome. I also have generalized anxiety disorder, which it seems like a lot of people have that nowadays.
They do.
I hadn't been diagnosed properly. I was showing signs around 13, so I didn't get diagnosed and medicated until I was in early 20s. So that's kind of obviously that's been a big part of my life, and a bunch of very interesting stuff that I had to experience without even knowing what was going on with me. And but now that I'm on the other side, it's like pretty amazing. So I think that the fact that we don't really talk about it, and it's taken me a long time to kind of be open about it too, because I think there's a certain amount of social stigma. But I don't know, I think you are the first person that I've openly, it's going to be out there on the internet.
Right.
I don't think people have known before that. So this is kind of my mental coming out.
Mental coming out party.
My mental coming out party.
Hey, that's always that's a thing. I think it's
I was
a thing.
trying to find if I have a little little noisemaker, but I don't. So just
I don't either, so it would have been
pretend fireworks. I don't know if we can edit that in later.
We could do a wave. We'll edit fireworks in. But no, I mean, that's a completely brave thing, and a lot of people are scared because of the stigmas that are out there and the bullying that's out there because of it, and the misconceptions and a lot of just ideas that people have in their head and things that are in there that they just really don't know enough about it, and I think that they're not educated enough about it to really understand it, and it's more of a fear of it, and they right away jump to, oh, you're crazy if you're on medications, or you're crazy if you have this, and like you mentioned before, and something I want to say is about anxiety disorder. Do you know how many people have that? How common and popular that is?
Oh, it's so common. I read a statistic where it's I don't know, it's above 50% of the population.
It is.
Everybody's
got it.
Everyone's got it.
It's like a trend. I've read about tons of celebrities that have it and that suffer from it.
Totally.
And it's something that's very prevalent, and it's also very scary, and I don't think people realize that. They just assume that no matter what disorder you say you have, or if it's emotional, or if it's mental, or if it's whatever it is, physical, they have so many thoughts that are incorrect, or knowledge that's really not up to par to where it should be, because it's not researched enough, maybe it's not talked about enough. And I know that you're an artist also. I know you're very big into art, and I know that you've dealt with it through some of your art work.
Oh, yeah.
If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I still have a lot of pieces. I'm actually looking at one right now that I did when I was so I'll be talking about during my depressive episodes, we call those your lows. as you know, like you got your highs, which are your mania, and then your lows are your depressive.
Right.
So like, I've got some stuff that I did when I was like really, really low. I don't think I've ever done any artwork where I've been manic, which is kind of interesting. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
I've never done anything artsy when I've been manic. But so like, it's been a long time. I probably haven't looked at some of the work on purpose, but I think I have a pretty good chronicle of my moods through my artwork since I was little. Like, I do want to like find it so I can show people, so maybe they can go, oh my God, that was me, or that's how I feel right now.
Absolutely.
But like, not only has it been an outlet, but it's also been just a way to kind of process stuff. Like you process it through
Absolutely.
your work.
Everybody has a processing.
Oh yeah, whether it be, if you want to work out, which I work out too, but that's not how I get it out.
Go for a jog.
Yeah,
meditate, yoga,
meditate.
Om.
Well, totally. Like mindfulness practicing is like that's actually been proven to help.
Oh yeah,
it's a lot, but
I love it.
I do have a lot of artwork that's definitely been inspired by my moods. I mean, if you go onto my website,
yes,
you can see. I mean, I don't actually like comment on it, but people can like email me or make comments. But there is you'll look at it, and you might make a very educated guess into how I was feeling. Some stuff is commissioned, so it was like for somebody. So,
right.
But other things, there is definitely, and unfortunately, I think people get kind of addicted to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, people get addicted to their highs, so that's why they don't stay on their meds. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who they really like being manic, and they're like, no, I feel great. I'm not going to take my meds anymore. And they're like, oh, I feel great now, and now I'm depressed, or now I haven't slept in days, and I spent $30,000 on a motorcycle, and I don't have a driver's license.
Yeah. I know it could get that way. I mean, do you ever have the feelings of, like, being afraid to look at your artwork because you're afraid it might bring up some past feelings?
Yeah, like, I have, because, like, with mood disorders, like, there are triggers. So some of it is trigger-based. Some of it is just, like, you'll wake up and you'll feel, like, complete and utter shit. And some days you feel great, but I have triggers totally. Like, I'll read old just poems or whatever that I wrote, seeing paintings that I did, and I will remember how I felt, and then I just feel that again. Sometimes I'll look at it and go, man, I was feeling so bad back then, but now I feel so good, and I've come a long way. But sometimes triggers are really strong.
Yeah.
I get them, but it's just part, like, everyone has triggers, but I think with people who have mood disorders, they're really powerful.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'll look at, and people don't know this either. Like, not a lot of people talk about this openly. So I know that for me, the whole trigger idea, I was never aware of. So, like, I didn't know to watch out for those things.
Right.
Like, looking at old pictures can, like, really get me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. No one had told me. I mean, now I know, but, like, I don't think you'd know if you, like, saw a good psychologist or counselor or whatever, but in society, I don't know. We really don't talk about it that much, so.
No, it's true.
How would you know?
But, I think that looking at things that we've done in times of being down, or even for those who don't have a mental illness or emotional disorder or anything like that, I think that we all have triggers of some kind. I mean, I know when I look at pictures from my past and I see something or somebody that I might have lost, or I start discussing something specific, I get into a certain mood.
Mm-hmm.
And or you get down, or sometimes it makes you happy. I mean, sometimes
Yeah.
you're kind of all over the place with emotions. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's one of the stigmas, is that people automatically assume that, oh, there's something wrong with you because of this or because of that, or you did this or you did that, or you're on a medication, or you have anxiety, or you have this, or you've had depression before. And what we don't realize with mental illness, regardless if it's a chronic thing or not, or if it's an actual illness or disorder that you're diagnosed with, and not something that just might be, oh, well, depression is normal. Anxiety is normal. There's so many normal feelings that we get. And it's almost like, why do we feel ashamed of having those feelings when they're normal feelings? Because I think people are so afraid of the stigmatism of mental illness and how they're going to be looked at and how people are going to view them. And will this person date me or see me? Will this person be friends with me? Will my family think there's something wrong with me?
Am I going to get a job if,
Exactly.
I have yeah, it's definitely like I was telling you, it's a society of there's something inherently wrong with you if you can't fix it. So you are just not strong enough. Oh, you have God, post oh no, I'm having a brain fart moment.
Post-traumatic stress? Is that what you're going to say?
No.
I'm trying to help you out and think for you.
Babies, when you have a baby. Where some women, because of their hormones after having a baby, they get depressed.
Postpartum depression.
Yes, postpartum depression.
There you go.
These little neurons just really weren't doing good work.
Right.
Yes. So, for the longest time, people would be like, oh, she's just, But
she's
now...
crazy.
She's just crazy. But now it's we've gotten to a point, I think we're pretty good now as a society, where if that happens, it's pretty accepted that, oh, there's actually serious science behind it. It's not that she's nah. It's no, that happens after you give birth.
And it's serious.
Stuff. Right. So it's we really have, and I think eventually, but the problem with mental disorders is it's if you are good, you want to just live a normal life and you don't want to be judged by it, because I think society judges you.
Oh, absolutely.
So instead of really being open about it, you kind of you're no, I'm stable and I'm good. And if I told people, though, even though I'm stable and good, I still would be viewed badly. I still would be watched oh, are they gonna have a moment, and then they need to be taking the psych ward. So it's
yeah,
you'd rather not say anything.
You're almost nervous to be and that's the most sad thing, because you're almost nervous to be yourself, be who you are. And when you meet people, friendships, relationships, partners, you want people to love you and like you for who you are. So if you can't be yourself, the way I look at it is, well, okay, when you see this side of me, or this part of me, how are you going to take it? Are you going to accept me? Are you going to still love me? Are you going to run for your life for the hills thinking that, oh, I can't deal with this, or I don't want to deal with it? And that's why it's very important to be upfront with people about things. But, I completely get that, because it's just, I think that we're so vain in a way in society these days.
Yeah.
And superficial, that there's so much about outside appearances and mental states that's what we focus on so much, and we're not focusing on the actual person and who they are, the insides, the qualities that are important. And we're looking all over the place for all these things that are not important. And it's when you really love someone, does all this stuff really matter? When you really want to be friends with somebody, when you really want to connect with people, it doesn't matter. I have some amazing people that I know, and we all have stuff. We all have crap. We all have things that we've been through. We all have illnesses, or been through things, or disorders, or whatever it is. I mean, I think that in some way we all have some type of, not only do we have vices, but we all have some type of something. there's nobody that's perfect, and I think that there's too many people these days looking for perfection, especially when you're in the public eye, and you would know more about that than me, but I do have friends that are, are very much in the public eye, and it's such a, there's so many celebrities that actually do advocate for mental illness, trying to talk about it. Glenn Close is a very, who doesn't know Glenn Close? I don't really have to go further than that. But, it's like, one thing I'm curious about is in what you do being an actor. Has it ever affected, like, your business or getting jobs or, anything like that? Has it affected you in that way?
Oh, totally. Like, I mean, there's kind of just, like, the general feeling of anxiety, and everyone gets that. Like, everyone gets, I mean, you're lucky if you don't. I wish I didn't feel anxious. But, you go to a job interview or you go to an audition, you're kind of like, oh, yeah. But for me, a lot of the time, it's like I have to really center myself because even though, I am medicated, there is a bit of there's a thought process that happens that people who don't have, general anxiety disorder or whatever, they don't have that same spiral. So, like, sometimes it has nothing to do with even the job itself. It's just kind of, it's just like the day I feel extra anxious, but it can make things tricky. Like, in some ways, because the anxiety can be a little bit difficult, it makes you not want to do the thing that creates the anxiety. Right. So that in itself there's a lot of pushing, and then once you do get in that situation, like, sometimes going to public events can make me feel a little anxious.
Right. Like social anxiety.
Yeah. Social anxiety. And so it does make it a little difficult, I think. And I can't attest to anyone else's feelings, obviously. But I know that for me, I don't feel like I know when I'm experiencing it that it's not appropriate to the situation. Like, I'm kind of getting fight or flight mode, but I don't have to worry about, it's not a predator. I don't have to fight it. I don't have to run away.
Right.
It's just like a situation where stakes are a little higher, and I have to recognize that and kind of like...
It's like a fight within yourself.
Right, and you got your medulla oblongata, right? That's your fight or flight.
Yeah.
So you gotta be like, listen, it's cool. Like,
yeah.
It's not a predator. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, the fight or flight thing is like really can be really brutal because it's like
it's hard.
You're like sitting there and you're like, where can I run to? Where can I go? Where can I hide? And the one thing I've heard about that's very common is there's a safe place. And I think we all have safe places, but, like, I know I used to have a safe place when I was a kid and I was dealing with anything like that as far as anxiety or panic. I always had a place where I would just be able to calm down in 2 seconds, or I would be able to just breathe. Where I felt like I couldn't breathe, like, okay, does anybody have a brown paper bag? And I just, a person could be your safe place. Like, I would talk to somebody, say it was my grandmother, and I would just be like, okay, I need to talk to somebody that I know can calm me down. And that was like a safe place too. It wasn't just your surroundings. It was a voice. It was what the person stood for to you and who you were around. And that's what created the safe place. A lot of people think, it's your environment, it's this and that. No, it can sometimes just be a voice that just clicks for you.
Totally. I want to share with you, like, so Daniel Siegel is an amazing neuroscientist, behavioral science. I don't know. Anyways, he's amazing, and I've been listening to some of his lectures, and he does a guided meditation of finding your safe place.
Okay.
And so I found mine, and I'll tell you about it. So 2 years ago, my for Christmas, even though I'm a Jew, we still do Christmas because Christmas is fun. So we all went to the Oregon Coast Aquarium, and you can go scuba diving in the aquarium. So, yeah. So my dad and my brother and I, because we're certified.
Oh, nice.
We went scuba diving in the tank, and it was a 2 display or exhibit dive, and this last one was with these sharks. And we were talking, before we were going over the dive parameters, and they said, well, there are 3 sharks in there. One of them's named Miss Piggy, and she's the biggest one out of the 3. And I know. So they're like it's like when we get into the tank, you need to get down to the bottom as quickly as possible, because sharks establish dominance by it pushing you down. So if you start getting at their level, they'll push you down.
Right.
So just get to the bottom as fast as you can. And then we're going to be there with sticks, and just keep your eyes open, because number 1, you might miss them. Number 2, you want to make sure that you're staying down. If you feel us grab onto you, it's us, and we're just keeping you down. So we get in there, and there's just like walls of little fish, and we're seeing the 2 smaller sharks circle around, and I kind of look up, and there's just a wall of fish, and then all of a sudden you see this shadow like cast over the fish,
Oh my
and then
gosh.
slowly she comes through, and like the fish just part, and she just slowly comes through. And like she's coming through, like she gets like, I don't know if you can see this from this far away, and she just goes past, like over
my gosh.
and I just see her go over me, and I'm like, I feel so calm right now. I'm just watching
really?
this. I'm just watching this beautiful creature who in other cases would scare the shit out of me just come through this wall of fish, shadow cast. And I'm just watching her, and she's totally cool. I'm at peace.
Nice.
And so I was doing this guided meditation, and I found that was my place. So if I ever feel really out of control, I just go back to the place of being in control, and I just watch her swim above me.
Wow.
And
that's great.
Yeah. So, I mean, other people have.
I mean, it beats jumping into a tank full of sharks.
And I still want to swim with great whites.
Yeah.
As much as I've seen some very scary
Shark
videos.
Week!
Dude, Shark Week's the best.
I love Shark Week, but I tell you what, I'm like a fish, and I love swimming, and I love the pool, but now I will never go in the ocean again. I don't think I can.
Hey, don't go to South Africa during the right? I don't know why people oh yeah, the waves are killer, and there are, great white sharks here. No.
If I can see through the water, I'm perfectly good. Or, you know what? I'll totally go in the cage, and I'll watch a great white right up to my face.
That's good.
But I'm not, going, into the dark ocean where I can't see anything like I used to. I was a kid. I would swim out to, the buoys, past the buoys, get in trouble. And now I'm not doing that.
Hey, wasn't there a great white in Jersey a couple years ago?
Probably. They're everywhere now. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a great white in Manhattan at some point.
It's because goddamn global warming, and then people are like, oh, well, why are there sharks in these colder waters? It's because the other waters are, hot as balls. You're but I don't understand. Why are there all these jellyfish? Oh, my God. And everyone's oh, science doesn't, okay. So... I just hear about the stupidest stuff.
It's completely hard to explain to people.
I don't know why the sharks are coming up so far up north. That's because it's too hot some places. That's why. But it's just hot in the water. Yeah, sometimes it's hot in the water.
Yeah,
God,
sometimes it's hot in the water.
so
And they think
loud.
it's hot for other reasons, a lot of people think.
So stupid. Anyways.
But I mean, the truth is that, like, I mean, the world is just filled with beautiful creatures besides, ourselves. And, like you said, I mean,
Besides us, we're
besides
like
us,
beautiful.
well, everybody loves animals now. They probably like them more than people because, I mean, how often, look, there's bullying for animals too. We advocate for animals to be killed as well. I mean, there's bullying when you beat an animal and you abuse
Oh
animals.
my God, totally.
So, we're total advocates and activists for that as well, because you see it every day and it's just disgusting. But, nowadays people probably like animals more than they like people, so,
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna say I'm one of those people, but I do have two lovely daughters.
Yes,
One is a cat and the other one is a dog.
I have a daughter who's a dog too. She's a teacup Pomeranian. Her name is Bella.
Yeah, little baby.
I can't. You know what? I mean, when you don't have kids, you have kids that are furry.
I totally, the only time I'm having, I didn't watch the documentary, but it's about grown couples getting monkeys. Have you seen that?
No.
It's like it's a documentary about 3 or 4 different couples who like adopt a monkey, and like some of them refer to them, and I'm sorry if this is one of you that's watching this, but there is something coming from someone who has, there is something psychologically wrong with you. Maybe. I don't know. It's a monkey and you're a grown person and you just, okay. Anyways, so
it's like Doug on King of Queens. Can I have the monkey at my wedding?
just like, and I mean that's one thing, but I think there is something about. I was watching the Young Turks. That's a shout out for the Young Turks.
There you go,
So
shout out.
They were talking about how pissed off everyone was about the lion. I don't remember
Cecil.
the lion. Yeah, everyone's pissed off about Cecil, and then I guess there was this robot, and then it went around the world, and then it got to Philly, and they like ripped it apart. And the robot has a name too. I don't remember the robot, but they brought up a really good point, which is like people are getting so upset about these things, and yet people are getting killed. Like we've had 2 unarmed police shootings of civilians, right? And they just get so upset about this creature and a robot. And yet when people get murdered, we try to like explain it away. We try to go, oh, well, maybe they were doing something wrong. Why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that?
Right.
So, like, it's easy to get on board of kind of the innocent, but when it comes to people, I don't know, I think it is a matter of that you try to explain away kind of the horror that happens,
Yeah, no, I do get what you're saying because actually a friend said something to me on my Facebook about that because there was another picture with a giraffe with some woman who killed a giraffe. And, I absolutely think it's disgusting. And
I mean,
I'm completely against it. And, when you're hunting, for fun like that and you're killing animals and it's not like it was for food or anything, but, I think people are so enthralled with animals because there's so much unconditional love there that I think that we're always looking for. And they're defenseless and they don't have a voice to speak up. And for so many other things we do, like a friend mentioned to me, well, why aren't we talking about this and this and that? And somebody said, well, because you know what? Animals, in the sense, when people are advocating and there's activists for that, they can't talk.
Yeah.
So they don't have a voice and they're defenseless. We could speak about a million things and advocate and be activists about a million things, but animals can't. They really can't advocate for themselves. They basically are just there, and people choose to kill them for a sport. And I think that's why people get so upset. And there's just, like I said, there's just so much unconditional love there, and just beautiful, pure souls, because they're animals.
And they don't really do, animals don't necessarily do things to be malicious.
Right.
You know, they don't do things out of spite. Well, my cat does, but she's different. But so it's like easier, and not saying that, like, I'm not saying that, you know, killing animals, and especially those, it's like, dude, yeah, they're not endangered, but they were. Like, what the? So I am not advocating that that's not important, but I think that the reason that we can do animals easier is because they're seen as pure, right, whereas people are seen as not pure.
Absolutely.
Right? And even like when they're little.
Exactly. I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a pureness and an unconditional love that's with them no matter what. Even when they're abused and they're treated horribly, there's still that love there. They're not... Yeah. They don't hate you. They don't dislike you. They don't treat you badly. They don't tell you off. They don't... Well, they might bark and scream at you, but you don't know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And, you know, they mistreat them to act in a bad way, but I think that's what it is. I think there's just such a pure soul and heart there that's what people long for, and you want that love. I mean, I know I can't say anything. Well, my dog, I think she's a furry human.
Yep.
As far as I'm concerned, she's a child that's just furry, and, you know, she's like 6 pounds, and I adore her, and she's one of my best friends, and I will... You know, if I could give a kidney to a dog, I would. You know, I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, they become family, and it just really is, like, you know, no matter... That's, like, I think everybody's safe place is their pet and their animals and being around that type of... Because, like you said, when we were talking about peacefulness, that's what animals, I think, stand for, kind of, in a way, peacefulness. Because, like, being around them, they're just so chill and calm. I mean, what animals are just running around like, you know, like people? I mean, people running around like, whoa, you know, like, especially in New York. I live in New York. I live in New York, so people are just like, whoa, you know what I mean? And like when you're around an animal, you're like, oh, that's nice. You know,
well, you know,
like
they bring them around. I know they do it in schools, and I think they do it in Germany where they bring in airports. I think it's either in Germany or the one in California airport, where they'll bring puppies in for people that have been sitting there for 24 hours. And it kind of like, you know, you bring some puppies in and you're like, puppies! It doesn't matter if you've been waiting for your flight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's been laid over for 24 hours.
I wouldn't care if you brought me a puppy.
Oh, I'd be like...
If you bring me a puppy, I'm totally good.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, yeah, I don't care if I haven't slept in 2 days. Oh, my God, that puppy's adorable.
Right? I would just be like,
oh, he loves the pets.
The puppy. The puppy. You know, puppies are just puppies. But, you know, I mean, we've touched on some amazing subjects today, and I'm thrilled with it, and I love it, and I so appreciate you taking out the time. And we're going to have another interview because there's other topics that obviously we want to touch on, one of them being social media, stigmas, and mental illness, and celebrities, and, you know, how much of the responsibility there is on their part and what's going on in that arena. So we're going to definitely talk about that because that's actually a very interesting subject that I think is so important and that needs to be talked about more because I see it as being something that's becoming very common. Mm-hmm. So I think that that's something we need to touch base on, and I would love your take on it. Okay. So, and you'll obviously, you know, you'll be part of the BKO chat with Watt cast and crew that we have coming up soon, so that'll be fun as well. And we'll probably touch base on that as, you know, there as well. Get everybody's opinion on everything.
Yeah, I'd love to hear what other celebrities feel and maybe experience too. So, and I know that we're going to do a part 2, but it's interesting. I think people aren't really aware of it, and honestly, I wasn't 100% aware of what was going on either, even when it's happened to me. But we'll talk about that in part 2.
Yes, we will, because we don't want to drive people to the point like, oh my gosh, how long has this been?
They just keep talking.
Oh my gosh, so well, we don't want to like make people fall asleep. So we will definitely have a part 2 very soon, and that'll be exciting as well. So thank you so much for being an advocate of Bullies Keep Out and your support and being a friend of BKO. We love having you and look forward to chatting with you again and your PSA and all the stuff that we're going to do. It's going to be great.
Oh, totally. It's going to be awesome.
All right. So we'll have part 2 soon, guys. Tune in.
See you in part 2.
Yes. Be kind and love big, guys.